Welcome to Radio Fixer's channel. Subscribe for upcoming videos. This is part 2 of repairing 1953 Motorola clock radio, model 62CW. I highly suggest going back and reviewing other videos regarding this repair to see the process we took to get to this level. After I had the opportunity to disassemble the radio and identify parts, this is the list of things that I will cover in this video series. Test all tubes and replace the bad tubes. Replace a special pilot bulb. Check all resistor and replace the bad one. Check and replace electrolytic capacitor. Check and replace paper capacitors. Replace non-polarized electrical cord. Check the clock and repair as needed. Fabricate missing clock knob. Reassemble the radio. Then test the radio. And hope everything gonna work out. We never know until we try, right? I remember when I had my first 50 subscriber, I told my wife, I said, guess what? I have 50 subscriber. She paused a little bit and said, how many people live around the world? I said, gee, I see. So folks, what you want to do, somewhere in the bottom, there's a subscription button. Go ahead and select that, and also there's a bell. Select that bell so it notify you whenever I upload new video. Put your thumb up. What this does, it notify other people they enjoy this hobby. Go ahead and share it to other people. Help me if my subscription goes up, man. Make me look good. All right? I appreciate you. Let's get it started. So now I have all these parts that I received so I can start working on the radio. So let's remove all these capacitors, and one by one, again, don't take all of them at the same time out. If you're brand new or you're doing this as a hobby, believe me, you're going to forget where everything goes. Do one at a time. All right, let's take this one out first. As you see, the way they run this, there's a wire run over it, also resistors, so gonna be a little crazy to take this one out. I'm gonna cut this side first. I'm gonna make a pigtails when put the new capacitor in. So let's cut this side. Okay, I'm videoing this so I remember. Usually I take tons of pictures. And the other side is right here. Such a big capacitor here. Crazy the way they install it. There's a lot of space here. They could go over it, and I'm gonna cut it right here. Give myself a little space for later on. I can solder this back to it. No, maybe I should bend this one up. I don't want to break the tube pen. These are really fragile. You have to be very careful. These are miniature. I call it miniature. They're pretty small tubes. It's not like others. They're very fragile. Maybe if I move this resistor away, then I can pull it out. I don't want to unsolder all this stuff. Maybe if I unsolder this, take this one out, then I can take it out. This is just one wire went to this tube, so I don't know what this extra solder is here. Do you think maybe they soldered together here? What's this blob of solder here? Let me see what this is. I'm gonna put this here and melt it. Such a crazy place to put the capacitor. All this open area, crazy. Then just as, these two wires are hooked up together right here. Let me get the magnifying glass. Alright, finally what I did, I unsoldered this from the tube. Now I can start pulling this out, so this is out. Let's see what size this is. Sometime if removing the wax, it will tell you. Let's see. 0.05 microfarad, 400 volts. Alright. It is always a good idea to test the new capacitors that you're going to install, because later on you don't want to install it and find out that was bad. So this is good, this is in the right range. 48.46 nanofarad, which is equal 0.05 microfarad. So what I did, I measured this. You see how I bend it. I'm going to make a pigtail both sides, then install it right in there. I'm going to show you how. Alright, so you get this small, screwdriver like this, the smallest one, and then I start, twisting this around like that. So you see what I did? Made a pigtail both sides. Now I'm going to just install it right here. There is this two that I cut. I left the extra wires out here, and then this goes right over it. See, like that. Now I can solder both sides. That's why I left the extra wires when I was cutting, to be able to do this, because this pen, again, there's tons of things here all connected to one pen, and I don't want to unsolder this. And again, these are very fragile. I have to be very careful with it. So I'm going to solder both areas. So this is being installed. Look how small this is compared to what it was there. So if you're going to solder right here, now the other side, then we are done with this one. Okay, both sides is done. So I'm going to use the same concept for the rest of the capacitors. Just I want to show you one of them. Sometimes the pigtail are going to be just a little bit. This one I want to bring it close to the chassis. I didn't want to stick it up so much. Alright. And one thing about this radio is crazy. They run wires across from each other. I was so close to head to the other one. So what I did, take the wires out. It's just a now empty tube. Of course, you can use the shrink tube. So I cut a small piece and installed it over the wire. So when I want to solder it there, it's not going to hit any other pens. I don't know why they did that. They just run a wire with no insulation at all, and it was so close to hit the other one. I don't know what they were thinking to do that. They done that all over, everywhere. This is from manufacturer. That's what they did. See, I replaced this one. This one was the same thing. This wire here was same thing. Remember, the one was going over the capacitor was soldered together. So I replaced it with this. At least this has insulation, so I know it's been protected. Don't know why they did those type of thing. I cut this a small piece and I'm just feeding it here. Now I'm going to solder the other side, make sure that it is safe. Let me work on this now. Alright, what I did, this is the drawing of the top of the chassis, where the speaker is and all the tube location. This is under the chassis, and here, as you see, 35W4 is right here. There is so many wires goes here. There is a resistor over there, and the color code is red, violet, black, and silver. So I'm going to key that into the database. I'm going to use again red, violet, black, silver. Is a 27 ohm, and minimum 24 ohm, maximum 30 ohm. So let's check to see what the reading is. It is all the way down here under all this wire. See right there? I'm going to test it. Usually, as I mentioned before in my other videos, see where the power comes in. Check the resistors, because a lot of power goes there. Also, right here, you see this red wire. I looked at the schematic. The schematic shows that this goes to that resistor as well. So I promise you, it's going to be off range every radio I'm working on, for the last several years now. And that's the resistors around here need to be replaced. Majority of time they're off range. So that's the first area you want to check. So let's check it. You see how off it is? That's supposed to be 27 ohm. It's 108 ohm. And definitely that need to be replaced, but because it's under all these wires, I have to remove a bunch of them to be able to get to it. And this radio is very difficult to work on, believe it or not. You have a lot of empty space, but the way they did this, I mean, everything on top of each other. Everything, you imagine. Even here, there's another bad resistor here. I mean, you look at it, it doesn't look good. So, why everything is so difficult, man? Of course, as I mentioned, test all your parts before installing it. You see, this is 27 ohm. So I'm going to replace that one with this resistor. But to do that, I have to, as I mentioned, remove all these wires. Since I'm going to change this type of plug, non-polarized and is dangerous type of plug, to polarized, so I'm going to cut this off and remove some of the wires to be able to get to the resistor. Folks, if you're new, make sure to take tons of pictures because there are several wires here and you want to make sure to put them back correctly. Sometimes that's what you have to do. You have to move wires around to get to the part to replace. And that is again is resistor, as you saw in the picture, is all the way down. So I'm going to start cutting this stuff, be able to get to it. I leave some extra lead off so later on I can unsolder it when I install a new wire. See, by removing it, then I can see it better. Still, I have to remove a few other wires here. But definitely, I'm going to take a picture before doing that. To take this out, you see it has those type of thing. I have to press this down and pull it out. Alright, this is pulled out. The best way to pull out this, when it's inside the chassis, get a plier, go here and press it like that, then I start pulling. Alright, I'm going to take a more picture. I'm going to start removing these two wires. There is two wires comes here and one here. So I'm going to take a picture, make sure I put them back the way they are. Alright, definitely you want to do that, otherwise, believe me, it's going to get confusing. Of course, if you have electronic background, you can read the schematic with no issue. You don't need to take pictures, right? But like myself, you know, I have no electronic background, and the schematics is great, but try to understand them. It takes a while to understand schematic. Anyway, let me unsolder this. And sometimes if the solder doesn't come out, add some solder to your solder gun. And then try it again. It's going to be work much better sometime. See, I add a little bit to it. Okay, this is out. Let's see if I need to remove the other one. So the good news is I were able to move those wires aside, just unsolder one, and those are of course the speaker wires. So I push them aside. As you can tell now, I can get to the resistors, so I do not need to remove these two at all. That's a good thing. The less I take out, the better it is. Alright, now I'm going to cut that, then install the new one right here. I might just make a pigtail because there's so many wires attached to it. Alright, I'm going to test the other resistor right here. You see this one right here? It is brown, green, and brown and silver. I key that into the database. The resistance should be 150 ohm, the minimum 135, maximum 165. So this is in the range. I'm not going to replace it. Alright, I check all the resistor this way because you know that's the best way to handle it. Then also I double check in a schematic. If I see some resistor maybe it was replaced, I want to make sure that resistor was replaced with proper value. Alright, one thing I just noticed, this red wire that it goes to this capacitor and it runs to that resistor start losing insulation. So I'm going to replace that red one. I'm going to run it this way instead of going the other way because I don't want to be a problem down the road. When you're working the radio, double check, triple check the wires, especially the plastic, the one I call it plastic insulation. If there's a cloth like this, these are cloth. they're going to last for a long time. But if it's covered with plastic, those years they were not that great with plastic. See how flimsy it is? So I'm going to pull this out and run a new one. Alright, this resistor installed, folks, is so darn difficult because there's not enough space. So that is installed. Now I'm working the capacitor goes between this tube and this tube. It used to go underneath. Remember, it was a silver. It's still in the range, but I'm going to change it with a new one. I don't want to cause trouble down the road. So this is what I did. And also I put Teflon tubing here. So now I'm going to install this. One side is pigtail, another bender like that. So this is what I'm going to install between those two tubes. This goes other side, already cleaned the tube pan. This goes inside that pan like that. And this one goes like that. You see? So I'm going to move it around so you can see it better. So here goes to this tube, the other tube. Now I'm going to solder both sides. All right. Sometimes you got to do all this crazy stuff, you know. Show you in the picture. See the silver one side goes to this pan, another to this pan. You know, instead go underneath of everything. I brought in the top, so for the next person be easier to replace them. That way it was so hard to get to it. Anyway, just want to show you. Already soldered both sides. Now I'm going to work in the next capacitor. It goes from here to the pen here. See this one? I'm going to put pigtail here, another pigtail right here. This resistor here for the tube 12BD6, this one. Of course, everything was laying here. So gently I moved everything around to be able to get to this resistor. I tested, it's off. I mean, it's way off. I already cut one side of it to be able to pull it out. I checked in a schematic and it's supposed to be 47. I cleaned it with alcohol because it was crud all over it. And it's yellow, purple, black, silver. So when I keyed into the database, it should be 47. Oh, you see how off it is? It's supposed to be 47. I already cut it off. It was stuck in there one side. I need to cut the other side and then put a new resistor there. It didn't look good at all. Schematic shows on 12BD6, it is RF amp is the first one that you hook up to antenna. And this resistor goes between pin 2 and 7. And the schematic shows 47. And you saw how off it was. So I'm glad I saw it. So let me change it. This is going to be tough. There's not enough space there. Even I moved all this stuff around. Gently move them around to be able to get to it. Let me change this. I'm going to get back with you. I'll be honest with you, it takes so much time to make these videos, editing, uploading, and make sure there's enough information that it actually makes sense, you know, if you want to follow. At this time, I want to take the opportunity and thank my subscribers with their uplifting comment. You always encourage me to upload more videos, since this is just a hobby of mine. Again, I appreciate you. Enjoy all these videos, and you all have an awesome day. Take care. If you're interested to see more videos like this, feel free to subscribe to my channel, and you will be notified when a new video being uploaded. You have a great day.